Welcome everyone. Welcome back on this series of adding power to Excel, series of Excel videos, which will be helping you to understand Excel much better. Today, the objective of this video is to clarify certain doubts or clarify certain grounds on which we work in Excel. That is the difference between a formula and a function. We use these two words, formulas and a formula, function, but are they same or is there any difference? So how do we understand that? That is what the objective of today's video is. So when you talk about formulas and functions, so what are formulas? They are custom built. They are custom built as per your requirement. It is you who need that formula. You understand the calculation, which can be a mathematical calculation, or it can also be a calculation using some other built-in function, or it can be an action by using combination of some other built-in function which you have used to create your own output. Now that is what we call them as formulas. Functions are built-in functions which are there as default standard within the Excel environment. Somewhere around 450 plus functions are available in Excel. Now which function to use, what function to use, we'll try to understand the understanding of these functions so that we can find out which function to use, and later we don't have to worry about I don't know this function, so where do I learn this function? You can learn these functions on your own. Maybe after watching this video can help you understand these functions and even learn these functions, how to use them, understand them, how to use these functions in a much easier way. Then they are not there, functions are not only for calculations, they are there for data manipulation, working with data, adding new additional columns, all those type of things can be done with these functions. So let's come back to basics before we move further. The first question, what I am asking you, how many of us can solve this in 30 seconds? 10 plus 20 divided by 5 multiplied by 6 minus 3. 30 seconds, answer in the comment box. And do we have the answer? 31. Yes, most of us might have got it, some of us might not have got the result. That is because we have to now go back to our bases. The thumb rule, mathematics. What was the thumb rule of mathematical calculations? The favorite subject in school, mathematics. How many of us remember? Yes, the BODMAS rule. Bracket, the sequence of solving a mathematical equation or a mathematical calculation is first is brackets, operations, division or multiplication depending on whichever comes first in the sequence from left to right, addition or subtraction again depending on the sequence what it comes from left to right in your calculation or in your equation. Remember the rule of BODMAS. The next is, how do we start a calculation in our Excel cell? We all know it's an equal to symbol. Some of us might also be aware of plus or minus, but recommend a big no for using plus or a minus. Not a wrong thing at all, in the sense there's nothing technical, there's nothing wrong, it is okay, but then it is a little bit confusing because then you go back again to your basic. Plus and minus becomes minus, minus and minus becomes plus. So depending on the value in the cell, where if it's a negative value, if it's a positive value, you start with a negative symbol by mistake, and it's a negative value in the sense of plus and plus minus will change the plus and minus plus would change your output. So be a bit careful in case you are using plus or minus. Better recommended is equal to symbol. When you talk about functions, your function will always have a name because they are already built in, and they have the names which have been given are very self-explanatory. You can understand from the name itself that what this function would do. And then what we have, every function needs parameters, arguments, input values. These are the things what we need to understand here. Depending on the function, the number of parameters, the number of input arguments would change. Some might need 2, some might need 3, some might need 5, depending on the function. These parameters would change. The number of parameters would change. The type of values to enter in these parameters would also change. Now that is what we have to also remember. We look at then in a minute, after some time we will see how to understand a function and how to understand which parameters, what type of parameters, and how do we understand that. So number of arguments would depend vary according to your function. Then based on your output, also remember your functions would be different. Now if you are looking at a function where you know that you will get only one output, like you want to do a total of some numbers, so we all know that we use a sum function. We want to find out an average, we use an average function. So the output is 1. So you give it multiple rows as input, correct? And how many outputs do we have? The result will always remain the same. That is, for multiple values, only one value will be there as a result. Whether you copy that formula in 10 rows, whether you copy that function, some function in 20 rows, the result will still be the same. That is one value. So that is what we call them as group functions. Then they are single row functions, what you can refer to them as, or row function, where for every row the value output is different for a function. So depending on that, we will either copy the formulas and functions, or we will not copy the function. That's another thing altogether. So let's see some example here, and based on that I have an Excel sheet. I will open my Excel file here. First thing what I'm going to show you is the method, that is the BODMAS thumb rule, what I was telling you, whether it is to be correct or not. So I'm just writing that equation again. I'm just saying equal to 10 plus 20 divided by 5 multiplied by 6 minus 3, and we get this result. Whether this is correct, whether BODMAS rule is being followed, what is your method of calculation, we need to understand, isn't it? Just by saying that, oh, BODMAS rule, somebody has told us, so it is that. No, it is not that. We have a method in Excel where we can go to formulas, evaluate formula, and we can evaluate how the formula, what your formula you have written, whether using functions or a function what you have used, the way it has performed, whether it has executed the way you wanted and then given you the result. So here what you have is, if you observe this evaluate formula, 20 divided by 5 has been underlined. That means this is the thing, this is the part of my calculation Excel is going to perform first, or is it is performing now. So if I click on evaluate, you get 4, and then 4 multiplied by 6, that is division, now multiplication. We click on evaluate, then it is showing addition, 10 plus 24, that is, yes, that is the fourth priority. Then evaluate, and last one is 34 minus 3. Now here, because it is a fixed value what we are using in the calculation, so it was showing you the numbers. But in case you have a function or a formula or a calculation what you are using, and you have cell referencing, you will have step in button which would be activated here, and you can click on step in. It will show you, yes, I am going to this particular cell reference, I am picking up this value, and you can verify whether your formula or a function is performing the way it needs to perform. So let's go to another sheet here. Now here, if you want to differentiate, I will just show you, this is your 9,000. I want to calculate the tax deduction. So I have said 2% of the basic is my tax deduction. So in this case, what I am doing is 9,000 multiplied by 2%. That's a simple formula, because I feel there is no function to calculate tax. So I have created my own function, or own formula, sorry, and I am fixing it, and I press enter. Now I will try to evaluate the formula what I was using. Now if you see here, this time in this calculation, in this formula, I am using cell referencing. So now it is showing me I am entering F4, I am using F4. So I click on F4, it shows I have picked up the value, Excel has picked up the value 9,000. Click on step out, it shows you that now it is going in Now it is showing $G$2, and I click on this particular button step in, and it shows that it has picked up 2%. I click on step out, evaluate, and it shows us 1800. So this is how you can evaluate whether it is picking up, and this is what I will call it as a formula, because this is our custom created formula. Now let us go to the next part. This is now I don't need to talk about. Now let's say we want to generate certain things here. We want to create maybe a salary code kind of a thing for every person employed here, and that is based on few things. What we want here is we want the code to be in this format. That is, you need to have 18, which is the employee code, as an example, employee code. After that, you will have an opening bracket where you will put N, that is the first alphabet of the region, then a slash, then I want to put AD, that is the first two alphabet of the department. I will close the bracket, then I want a dash symbol, and I want 8586. Now this is something what I want to do. Now how do we do it? One is manually, you can type and do that, but then why do we want to go into all that trouble? Let's try to do it in step-by-step process and try to understand how to understand a function in Excel. Which function will I use? What function will I use? So for that, the first thing what you need to understand is what type of an output am I looking at? So please tell me, what is the output we are looking at? We are looking at an output which is a text output. That means if I am looking at an output which is a text output, my function which I should use should somewhere in the category be in the text category. Don't look at the whole output as of now. Now here 18 is a fixed number. I am not worried about. I am not going to talk about 18 as of now. I am going to do it step by step, and then I will in future videos, one time in one of the future videos, you will find that we can do everything in one step. A little bit complicated issue, but then I will cover it as we go step by step. Now in this session, in this video, it is only going to be step by step. So what we need to do here is N. Now I want N. N is from the region north. Now how do I get this alphabet N? So let us look at this. Generally when I run this as a program, a lot of people say I will copy it, paste it, remove N, and then remove the rest part of the sheet, and I will get the answer. Like I will type north, I will copy it, and I will just delete it. But yes, what we can do is there is something available, and how do we use it is, what is the type of a value? How do I identify which is the function I will use? So first let us identify what is the type of value in this column and what do we want to get out of it. So the value is a text value. So that means there has to be some function in the text category which will allow me to manipulate this value. So let's go to the formulas tab, and in the text category there are a lot of functions which are available. Now if I go to any of these functions and I just keep my mouse on top of this function, you will see what that function does. Like bath text converts a number to text in bath language. Char, it returns the character specified by the code. So the names, first of all, the name and the description is self-explanatory, so you can understand which function I want to use. Now in this case, I will simply go down and I will click on a function called as left. Now if you see left, if I take my mouse there, it says left returns the specified number of characters from the start of a text string. So what do we want? We want N. N is the first alphabet of the region. That means something can be used. So I will click on this left function and I get the function argument window. Observe this window. What all things, now these are tips what you can use to understand function. Now this is only one simple function what I am using here, but any complicated function you can use this to understand that function. Now, how many input boxes, how many boxes do you see where you can input values on the screen? Yes, please put that in the comment. It is 2. Yes, 2 boxes. That means this function, that is the left function, needs 2 arguments, 2 input values. Fair enough. So you have first input value and the second input values. So you need 2 arguments for this function. So that is one part of the function, that is the input arguments, or the arguments for the function. Now the next thing what I want to understand is, or what I want you to understand is very clear, is, do you see the word text and the word num_chars? And if you observe them, what is the difference visually? Not in terms of the somebody will say text is text. Okay, yes, very good. And numchar is num_chars. Yes, very good. And somebody might say that yes, text will take text. I don't want the difference in terms of the meaning what they will do. Visually, how do they look different? Now visually, it's again going back to your school days. Remember those games, spot the 5 differences, spot 10 differences. So I just want 1, I don't want 10. Yes, that one difference what most of us can observe in these 2 things is text has been given in bold and num_chars has been given in normal font, isn't it? Sounds silly, but there is a logic. Please understand this. Sounds silly, but there is a logic. Whatever parameters or whichever input box has a description before it in bold means that that argument is a mandatory argument. Your function will not work if we do not give this argument value. So these are all mandatory values. So depending on the function, if some functions might have 4 arguments or 4 parameters, and out of those 4, 3 might be mandatory, 1 might be optional, 2 might be mandatory, 2 might be optional, depending on the function what you are using. So whenever you look at a function, you find a function from this list, just see how many parameters, how many arguments, out of that how many are mandatory parameters which have to be given by you, and how many are optional parameters. That's one part. Now what about num_char, which is written in normal text, is this is an optional parameter. That is, if whether you give this parameter, whether you don't give this parameter, Excel will still do the job. And if you don't give this parameter, Excel will take something on its own, will consider something on its own and do the job for you. So in this case we have 2 parameters. One is a mandatory parameter, that is text, and what is the value I want to give is, I want to pick up the value from the region column, and how many characters I want. Now if you see here, return specified number of characters, and it says specifies how many characters you want to extract, 1 if omitted. So you can still give 1 or you can leave. Excel will still give you 1 character n. This is a single row function, what I was talking about, a row function. That is, every row has a different output. Every cell or every row here has a different output what we are getting. Now let's go back to the next column. What do I want? I want AD to come in this cell. I'm doing it separately. As I said, I would show you a method in one of the future videos where we will see how to make it more advanced and do everything in one step. Now here, how do I get AD? Yes, the function. Yes, now all of us can tell me. We go to the left, we pick up administration, that is the department column, number of characters 2 this time. Now so you see, we have given a value here because we wanted 2. Fair enough. Now comes the final output, the time to get the final output which is required. Now for that, what we need to do is, again, the final output what we want is a character output. Now if I want a character or a text output, that means we will have to look for a function in the So we will have to look for that function in the text category. So what can be that function? So let's go and see, let's explore. So some of you can pause the video at this time and try to do it, and later send me a comment that you were able to use the technique to find that function easily. So the function what we are going to use is, yes, concatenate, join several text strings into one text string. Yes, some of us watching this video might say, I can use I can use a concatenate operator, that is and, that is okay. The objective is not to discuss that what is there, what the objective is to how to understand the function. Similarly, concat, how many input parameters or how many input boxes? Only 2. No, you can have as many as you want. You can have up to 255 text which can be concatenated together and get one text. So what we are doing here is we want 18 first. So what is the first string? I want 18, that is the employee code. Next text is a bracket. Now I will have to, if it's a fixed value, I will put it in double quotation in brackets. Then I want n. Where is n? We just now extracted n from the region. So we have in cell J4 in one of these cells. Then I want a slash, which is again a fixed character, so I'll put it in double quotation. Then I want AD also has been extracted in one of the columns here, so I just select that column name. Now if you see, as I keep on going, the number of inputs it is allowing me to put increases. Then we want a hyphen, so I put a hyphen, and finally one thing is left. I wanted 8586 from the SSN number. What could I have used? Yes, so I could have used the write function here, so my mistake. So I can use text. Similarly, like left, we have something called as write. So I can use the write function. Text, how many characters do I want? I want 4 characters from the write, so I get that. Now I will just copy this, and now we can use the concatenate function. What does it do? Join several text strings, as we have already mentioned earlier. So what I want is, first is the employee code I want to put, then I want to put a bracket in double quotation marks. Then I want to put the first alphabet of the region, which I have already taken. Then I want to put a slash in double quotation mark. Then I want to put the first 2 alphabets of the department, so I put that from the cell where we have extracted it using the left function. Then I want to put a dash or a hyphen, I put that in double quotation. And finally I want the last 4 digits. And one thing which is left here is a closing bracket after that, and then I want a hyphen, and finally I want, and we get this result. So we get all this done. In this video, what I have shown you is the getting all this by getting your region alphabet in one column, then getting it in then getting the department in another column, then getting your SSN code last 4 digits in another column, and then doing it. So we have taken 4 steps and done it in 4 steps. But future videos, as we are going advanced, we are going further and further, and our journey is going towards becoming more effective in Excel. So in future video you will see how we can combine multiple functions and do them together. That is what the concept, what we call it as nested of function. That is we are going to discuss in one of the future videos, which is coming soon. So wait for that, and just refer back to all the other videos where we are talking about cell referencing, your name ranges, so that we are all set for the future journey which is going to be there. So thank you for watching this video. Put your comment